Hello and welcome to the Genuine Learning Blog. My name is Melissa Galasso, and today we're going to talk about a very important topic, which is changes to the ethics code for state and local governments. Now, if you remember a few years back, they did update this concept of affiliates for non-governmental entities, but governments are kind of unique in that governments roll up to other governments, right? So when we look at the primary government, we look at component units, we can see this roll up of various counties into states and various entities that roll up into other entities. And so they wanted to address the concept of affiliates for governmental entities. And so this is the AICPA's new interpretation for ethics and independence related to those entities. So the title of the new interpretation is State and Local Government Client Affiliates. It was issued this month and it is effective for years beginning after December 15, 2020. So we do have a little bit of time because it's going to require some significant changes to how we think about our independence and how we consider that. We're expecting to see the notice of this come out in the August 2019 Journal of Accountancy. Remember, how do they notify us about changes to the ethics codes? The Journal of Accountancy, which is why you should always flip to the back of your Journal of Accountancy to look for these, because that is how they deem it to be communicated. All right, so what is the goal here? Well, this interpretation applies to state and local government entities that are financial statement attest clients, right? So typically we're going to think about them as GASB clients. So what is a state and local government entity? They are generally going to follow GASB GAAP, right? So who's generally accepted accounting principles is GAAP. So examples of GASB GAAP users would be general purpose governments and special purpose governments for our state and local governments. Within our general purpose, we're going to have states, counties, cities, towns. And then within our special purpose, we're going to have universities, we're going to have public housing authorities, OPEB and pension plans, any of the other student tuition programs, healthcare organizations, public airports, right? All of these are examples of entities that use GASB GAAP. So what is the big change here, right? What are we really focused on? So basically here it says when interpretation of independence is applied to a state or local government environment and the interpretation uses terminology that is not applicable, you should use your professional judgment. So when they use the word officer, for example, or director, right, you might have to adjust your terminology to be compliant with how we think about things from a governmental entity. So you might have to think of governance responsibilities or controls over financial reporting, and you want to adjust them as you go through. So one of the terms we're going to look at here is the term affiliate. This is going to be very important for government. So an affiliate of a financial statement client exists in all of the following. So the first one, the entity is included in the financial statement attest client's financial statements, and the member or member's firm does not make reference to another auditor's report on the entity. So thinking about this very frequently in the government world, we tend to make a lot of reference, right? We have a lot of component auditors floating around. But in this scenario, we have a financial statement attest client, and they have an entity that is included in their financial statement. So another government or organization that rolls up. The second one is the entity is included in the financial statement attest client's financial statements, and the member or the member's firm makes reference to another auditor's report on the entity. So we are making reference, but they're still an affiliate because the entity is material to the financial statement attest client's financial statement as a whole, and the financial statement attest client has more than minimal influence over the entity's accounting or financial reporting process. So this entity, we are making reference to this other entity's account auditor. However, when we do that, we have a material entity and we have influence over this entity. And it tells us there is a rebuttable presumption that the financial statement attest client has more than minimal influence over the accounting or financial reporting of funds and blended component units. So when we think about a blended component unit, we actually bring their financials and we blend them with the primary government. Additional items that would also qualify to be an affiliate, the entity is a material excluded entity, and the financial statement attest client has more than minimal influence over the entity's accounting or financial reporting process. Right, so when we think about what is a material excluded entity, it's an entity that's required under the applicable financial reporting framework to be included in the financial statement, but for some reason, nevertheless, is excluded and is material to the financial statement attest client's financial statement as a whole. And so there, again, when we look at the concept of how we roll things up. In addition, we have the investor, which is either the financial statement attest client or an affiliate, has an investment in an investee when the investor either controls the investee, unless the investment in the investee is trivial or clearly inconsequential to the financial statements, or has significant influence over the investee and the investment in the investee is material to the financial statements of the financial statement attest client as a whole. All right, so we've identified what we have as affiliates. So they've kind of clarified what do we mean to be an affiliate. And they do tell us it's intended to be broadly defined, can include funds, component units, departments, agencies, programs, organizational units, fiduciary activities, remember the government-wide, they're not included, custodial activities, EBPs, and sub-organizational units. So governments are really interesting. We still have fund accounting, we have government-wide financial statements, we have fund financial statements, we have component units, which are legally separate organizations that we are required to include in our financial statements. So very unique accounting and therefore very unique ethics considerations. So we use the term investment. What does the word investment mean? Well, it is a security or other asset that an investor, which is either going to be the attest client itself or their affiliate, holds primarily for the purpose of income or profit and has present service capacity based solely on its ability to generate cash or to be sold to generate cash. Well, that should sound very familiar. It is the exact language that we use in GASB 72. However, they're going to include equity method investments. So what are not considered investments for the purpose of this interpretation only? It says interest obtained by an investor as a result of an action by a third party, such as a bequest or a grant, right? So you were granted, for example, stocks. And that investor does not intend to retain and does not retain for more than a reasonable period of time, given the temporary nature. So they're going to sell it or they're going to do something with it. Equity interest in joint ventures, partnerships, LLCs, or other types of entities where the investor's principal purpose is to directly enhance its ability to provide governmental services. In the nonprofit world, we call these programmatic investments, where we're investing for the purpose of improving the entity. Equity interest in component units, where the investor's principal purpose is to directly enhance its ability to provide governmental services. So again, very similar concept here, where the goal is not to generate income really, but it's to provide services. And then interests that would otherwise be considered an entity. So again, when we look at this, we're going through that process as we go through of thinking about what is or is not going to qualify when we're going through that definition, when we're looking at the affiliates definition. Why is this so important? Why are we spending so much time on the definition of an affiliate? Well, it tells us that if we have a financial interest in or any other relationship with an affiliate of a financial statement attest client, we may create threats to a member's compliance with independence, and we would have to apply the independence rule and related interpretations to the financial statement attest client and their affiliates. And there are, again, certain assumptions, and exceptions. We'll talk a little bit about those. Basically, even though we are opining on this entity, we now have to consider our affiliates in determining when we are independent of the financial statement attest client. However, I think the one that's going to give us even more interest and more attention is in the area of non-affiliates. If the member encounters circumstances or relationships that may create threats to independence for a non-affiliate, doesn't meet the definition of an affiliate, the member should apply the conceptual framework for independence to evaluate whether threats are at an acceptable level. So going back to our threats and safeguards approach, right, that's what we call our conceptual framework. We're going to look at non-affiliates and also consider whether there are any threats and any safeguards that need to be applied. So what are examples of non-affiliates? A covered member's immediate family member is in a key position with a non-affiliate that includes the financial statement attest client in its financial statements, and the non-affiliate provides accounting staff, shares financial information, or establishes internal controls over financial reporting for the attest client. The member or the member's firm is considering providing financial information system design services to a non-affiliate in which the same financial information system would also be used by the financial statement attest client. A covered member has a financial interest in a non-affiliate that includes the financial statement attest client in its financial statements, etc., etc. So I'm not going to read all of these to you. We do provide all of this information just for you to look at examples where we have these non-affiliates. They don't meet the definition of affiliate, but we still have to consider threats to independence related to these entities. So there are some exceptions. It says the member and the member's firm can provide or may provide prohibited non-attest services to material excluded entities and entities when making reference to the other auditor during the period of the professional engagement or during the period covered by the financial statements, provided that it is reasonable to conclude that the services do not create a self-review threat with respect to the financial statement attest client, because the results of the non-attest service will not be subject to the covered member's financial statement attest procedures. And then for any other threats created by the provision of the non-attest service that are not acceptable level, we need to either apply a safeguard or not perform that service. Now, you're probably saying there are so many entities that roll up in the governmental entity. How do I know if I've identified all the affiliates and all the non-affiliates? Well, it tells us a member must expend best efforts to obtain the information necessary to identify affiliates. And then if after it expends best effort, and we haven't really defined that, a member is unable to obtain the information to determine which entities are affiliate to the financial statement attest client, threats would be at an acceptable level if we do all of the following. 1, we discuss the matter and the impact of independence with those charged with governance. We document the results of the discussion and any effort taken, and we obtain written assurance from the financial statement attest client that it is unable to provide the member with the information necessary to identify the affiliates of the financial statement attest client. So this is sort of the CYA in here that is going to allow us, depending on how many levels we have to go through. Now, we use the term a few times, more than minimal influence. And so it tells us the overall facts and circumstances should be considered when evaluating the level of influence. The targeted analysis is applied solely to the accounting and financial reporting process, as opposed to the analysis of what entities are actually included in the financial statement attest client's financial statement. So we're looking more at process as opposed to actuals. So we want to look at the extent of involving the extent of involvement the financial statement attest client has in preparing the financial statements, the extent of operational control, the extent to which both the financial statement client and the entity have the same accounting staff, systems, or ICFR, the extent to which the financial statement attest client can direct the behaviors or actions of the board, add or remove members of the board, issue or pay the entity's debt, finance the entity's deficit, and use or take the entity's financial resources. So all of that comes together. So when we think about all of these factors, when some may indicate influence, others may say not so much. So they have to do a different weighting depending on the potential impairment. And it should be a substantive approach. So when we look at the factor, does the financial attest client exercise its right versus they have the right is not exercised, right? So we're looking at this substantively, not looking at form. And then the consideration of the factors will require the member to exercise professional judgment. So all of this is going to require a significant amount of effort from us to consider what is in our professional judgment going to require some ethics consideration. Finally, materiality is also a matter of professional judgment, and we should consider both quantitative and qualitative factors when determining whether an entity or investment is material to a financial statement attest client's financial statement as a whole. Again, and it's applied at the level of the financial statement attest client's financial statements rather than the individual opinion units. So remember, you might have more than one opinion in governmental fund accounting. Wow, I know that was a lot. Let me tell you, actually going through and reading it, it's not that long. It's just so meaty that I wanted to spend some time in some of the language that you're going to see there. But definitely, I want you to take a look at this and think about what processes or changes to your quality control system you might have if you work with these governmental entities that use GASB as part of your overall planning for the upcoming year. With that, I want to thank you for joining me on the Genuine Learning blog, and I hope to see you on a future blog. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.